Aloha class. My presentation today is based on the article called The Courage to be Constructivist, which is written by Martin G. Brooks and Jacqueline Grannon Brooks. Now, constructivism, like the article says, is a theory of learning that describes the central role that learners' ever-transforming mental schemes play in their cognitive growth. This theory does not believe in the traditional model of state standards equals state tests, state test results equals student achievement equals rewards and punishment. Constructivism basically thinks there's more to learning than taking a test. That you can't really assess the learning from a multiple choice test. Now, the article gives us a pattern of how the high stakes assessments take, and it says, after the first assessment of most state assessments, school scores rise because educators align curriculum closely with the assessments and they focus classroom instruction directly on test-taking strategies. Now, I've seen this in my educational experience. Growing up in Florida, we took a standardized test called the FCAT every few years, which had like reading and math and writing components. And it seemed that the teachers were teaching us how to do well on this test and what to expect for this test so that we could get the highest test scores. And then when we got high test scores, it seemed like we have been learning a lot. But what constructivism believes, and what I believe, is that this doesn't really mean that we've been learning more. It just means that we've learned how to take that one test. And this is backed up by a study done by Kentucky's Office of Educational Accountability, which suggests that the increased test scores are due to improved test-taking skills and not increased learning. Now, here are the 5 tenets of constructivism outlined in the article. It says constructivist teachers seek and value students' points of view. Constructivist teachers structure lessons to challenge students' positions. Constructivist teachers recognize that students must attach relevance to the curriculum. Lessons shouldn't be structured around bits of information, but around big ideas. Constructivist teachers assess student learning in the context of daily classroom investigations, not as separate events. Now, there are a few criticisms of constructivism that are mentioned in the article that I thought were worth mentioning in my presentation. One of which is that constructivism is overly permissive, and the other is that constructivism lacks rigor. And both of these criticisms, I believe, have merit. I believe that a teacher who's trying to do constructivism and avoiding teaching the assessment test, I believe that if not done properly, it could be overly permissive, and that they could also teach without the rigor that they should, and not the rigor that the students should be learning with. Now, here's another quote from the article that I'd like to read. It says, "The logic is clear. The more open and performance-based an assessment is, the more variety in the responses. The more variety in the responses, the more judgment is needed in scoring. The more judgment in scoring, the lower the reliability. At this point, multiple choice items have been reintroduced, performance events discontinued." Now, this quote, tells us more about how open-ended constructivism is, and how it's more difficult to assess because learning it's not black and white. It's different for everybody. And so, while constructivism is good and we should incorporate it into our learning, we also have to be careful that we aren't overly permissive and that we do teach with rigor because we want our students to learn a lot. And yeah, so that's constructivism.